Coach. Thanks, Coach, for coming on this morning. I appreciate you.
No, absolutely. Anything for you, you know that.
Good to see your face. Hey, I'm glad you can come on and join us. We're live right now, so you got a whole bunch of guys interested in talking some ball. I appreciate you coming in and spending some time. I know it's a strange time right now, but time is still valuable, right? So I know you're busy and you got things going on, so I appreciate you coming in and talking some ball with some ball coaches. I know we'll get a lot out of it, so I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Well, what we'll do, Coach, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and we'll turn the mic over to you, and you can share your screen and get going with your stuff. And the way we'll do it is, if you don't mind, we'll have questions, so the attendees can raise their hand and they can ask a question, and you'll be able to see that on your end. So your call if you want to pause and answer a question as you go. Well, we can certainly leave time at the end if you want to do it that way. So however, whatever works for your workflow, we'll do it that way. All right, Coach?
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect.
Right. Guys, pleasure to have Coach Jason Washington, DB's coach, Mississippi State. Obviously coaching at the highest level. So we're really pleased to have Coach come on this morning and give us a little shout. So Coach, take it away.
Sounds good. Hey, good morning, fellas. First, appreciate y'all spending some time. Of course, getting to know, just a little bit of what's going on and trying to perfect your game by listening. And, Coach Cam, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the invite. I've gotten to know Coach Cam probably over the last 2 years, recruiting a young man that he had on his team. And then we started talking. They came down when was previous at the University of Texas. And so it's been great getting to know Coach Cam. He loves those kids. He does a lot for them. He's a detail-oriented coach. And those are things that, I find picking up things from y'all, and things from Coach Cam. So we've been able to talk, of course, ball, but most importantly have become good friends and good buddies through this great game that we coach. So wherever you're at or what you're doing, I always say be mindful for these kids, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to work to accomplish, and being the best version of you. Because if you're able to do that, the sky's the limit for you professionally, but also for these kids and that type of stuff in this business. So like I said, man, appreciate y'all being on. I'm going to talk as fast as I can, try to get through a lot of this stuff. Hopefully y'all, like I said, gain a little bit out of it. And then what we can do probably, I say what will probably be easiest is answering questions at the end. So hopefully it can be beneficial for all y'all. If you got a question in between, man, that's fine. I'll stop and do that. So we could try to do both if that's good. So like I said, I'm going to try to talk very, very fast. I don't know if Coach Salazar is still on here, but he did an unbelievable job of getting to know him as well. Of course, we date back for a while by knowing each other back in some previous stops that I was at, and same thing with him. But they do an unbelievable job over at Westlake, and I know the rest of the guys on the schedule today are going to be really, really good. So let me get things rolling. Like I said, if you got any questions, holler at me. That's fine. And then, of course, I'll answer questions at the end as well. All right. So let's get things rolling. I'm going to try to share this screen. Before I'm sorry, one more thing before I start. I think I got the worst internet in the country. All right. So I think I'm still on dial up or something like that. So if I start going kind of crazy, somebody holler at me, or if my video is moving too slow, hopefully it'll pick up and move a little bit faster. I think we got the Fred Flintstone internet in the country. So we'll figure it out. And like I said, man, I hope we can finish everything and get through everything. Coach Salazar, what's up, my man? So we'll work and go from there. So let me get through here and share with y'all my screen. So today what I want to talk about is just overall DB play. So just talk about stance, talk about alignments, talk about some drills that we do, over at Mississippi State. A lot of this film, guys, is going to be where our previous stop was at, which was the University of Texas. Unfortunately, we hadn't had a chance to get with those Jokers and be able to get on field. Of course, we're about to start spring ball, and then Corona hit, and we're on an extended spring break for a while. So we don't know when we're going to be back. But a lot of this film I incorporated from, of course, the previous stop that we're at. So right now at the beginning, as we made it over into Mississippi State, the big thing that we start talking about, let me try to get this screen a little bit big. 1 second. I'm going to try to move y'all real quick. All right. All right. Can everybody see that? Everybody good? Hopefully. I don't know where y'all went. All right. So holler at me if y'all can't see this screen. Coach, are we good? Coach Cam?
Yeah,
good,
we're
Coach.
good. We're
Okay,
good, Coach.
awesome. All right,
Perfect.
awesome. All right, so the big thing, when we first made it in, guys, we talked about, our secondary principles and talking to our corners and safeties. So as we started developing our plan and our defensive scheme, biggest thing that we keep on talking to our guy, especially how fast offenses are. You heard Coach Salazar talking about just tempo and speed of the game, especially where everybody's moving to. It's basketball on grass. And so with a new system and different things that are going on, the big thing that we emphasized was listen and concentrate on the call. Know the call to make sure that you can perfect and do your job. And especially in the back end, coaching safeties. When I first made it in, the big thing, guys talk so softly. And that was the big thing that I said, hey, we got to work on is being able to communicate and being loud and being a field general and some of those other things. And so during meetings, when they're out in the field, everything that they do, if they don't speak up loud enough, I tell them, hey, say it again, say it again, say it again. Because now it becomes a habit. And so that's one thing that we had to improve. And then just understanding, listening, concentrating on the call. Like I said, and then we'll try to, of course, put them in tough situations where they start getting tired. Now we really got to work on communicating and understanding and concentrating on the call. So that's the biggest thing. We all know that's the quickest thing to get you beat if you're not paying attention there. So as we break it, as we finish and talk about that, the next thing that we go into is just secondary principles, just giving them an idea off of what we're trying to accomplish. So big thing, like I told you just a minute ago, knowing call knowledge, knowing the pluses and minuses in different situations, knowing your job and your alignment, any adjustments during that week. So we talk about that. Like I said, Coach Salazar did a good job of just talking about different situations and using your mind rather than showing routes and some of that, using your mind to be able to take you where you need to go or where you need to be. Pluses and minuses of the defense. So the smarter we are, the more understanding of your position, knowing strength and weaknesses in all situations, the better ball player that you're going to be. So we preach and harp and talk all the time with our guys about those two things. Know your call knowledge, know your alignment, know your job, know your assignment, and then what's the strengths and what the weaknesses are in all situations. If you're able to do those two guys, you're going to be able to play fast and great things will happen to you if you know those two. Then as we start getting into game weeks and different things, now we'll start talking about situation football, down and distance, field position, quarter and time, what we're trying to do, what guys are trying to do in certain situations. So I know with y'all, that's a big thing, especially down and distance. I mean, it dictates and tells you so much, and how offensive coordinators are and people that you go with, about 98% of them are all about the same. And there's tails, there's different things that you will recognize and see. And I think there's one good thing that we do. We do like a little, what we call magic tape during the week whenever we're preparing for an opponent. So what the magic tape is if we see a tendency that happens about 5 or 6 times, we just say, hey, put it on the magic tape. All right. And so this magic tape is things that you see over and over and over again. It may be a formation, it may be alignment of somebody, but we recognize the play. So that's in our system, and those kids go through the magic tape. And we all know that a game comes down to 5-6 plays probably in a game, whether you win or you're going to lose. And so if we're able to steal something that they have repeatedly done, and we're able to recognize, say it's 15 things, and there may be one guy or two guys on there that recognizes formation or whatever it is, and boom, that magic tape has been so valuable for us. Of course, it's on the coaches to make sure that you recognize those and see those, and that comes with studying and understanding what you're doing with the film. But I guarantee you, it really helps some of our guys, because now they study it and they became hungry. Hey, coach, what type of magic tape do we have this week? And it became really, really good for a lot of our guys. And then, of course, the last thing is tendencies, formations, of course, and hash mark tendencies off of it as we continue to work and break stuff down. All right. And then, of course, last one, personnel. Personnel is always huge with opponents as we start breaking stuff down. We talk about, especially, we've gotten out of guys doing a lot of big scouting reports for our guys. Half the time we're killing trees and wasting time, getting them all this. 67% of the time they do this, 50% of the time they do that. They don't do that. I mean, they don't read it. They're too worried about video games or chasing girls or whatever it is. So we just try to give them information that they are going to quickly see, quickly understand. And then, like I said, giving them big bullet points to allow them to hopefully be successful. And one big thing that they're going to look at is personnel, who they're going against. Who do I have to cover? Who do I have to tackle at running back? Who's the quarterback? Those are the things that they're going to look at. And then from there, depending on the individual, then we'll add on different things to them. But that's a big thing, just that, any type of special alignments, and then huddle procedures after that. And then, of course, special situations, what happens after sudden change in the red zone or backed up, what do they like to do from those situations. As we finish there and understand and let them talk about principles and the things that we're trying to work to accomplish to become a better football player. The next thing was we get in their mind about field zones. So we talk about there's 3 different levels in our field zones. And you heard Coach Salazar talking about just a little bit off of just route concepts, your short routes, your medium routes, your long routes. We do the exact same thing. And so, like I told you, there's 3 different levels. We just call it level 1, level 2, and level 3. And where routes are happening in our secondary when we start talking about running routes and being able to fit routes. We do a variety of different coverages, fellas. It's from anywhere from quarters to man to cover 3 to match carry deliver stuff to cover 2. So these guys, it's imperative, it's important that we preach the same language and are able to talk. Hey, coach, what routes are going to happen in level 1? And so they're able to explain to me. The same thing to level 2, level 3. And now our communication is a lot better, and those guys kind of understand what's happening on that. So as we go through 3 route levels, like I told you, we kind of start off with a line of scrimmage. What's going to happen at the line of scrimmage? So any route that happens 0 or behind the line of scrimmage. So we talk about 3 things, which is basically a hitch, what we call a negative hitch. So guy just steps off the ball and ball's being thrown out there immediately, allowing one of those corners to run inside out and be able to make a play. Bubble screens, of course, flare screens with running back, and then double passes, trick plays. All that stuff happens what we call behind our LOS, behind our line of scrimmage. Then right after we get through that, these are the things that you're going to see. These are the possibilities. These are the coverages that, hey, you got to trigger, or this time you got to stay back and worry about any type of double pass or anything like that because you are a deep third player. So we talk about these are the routes that are going to happen there. Once again, once we start kind of getting to our level 1, so we say our level 1 is anything that happens 0 to 5 yards. So those are the different routes that we can get. So like I said, you heard Coach Salazar talking about a hitch or a stop, a slant, or a glance, depending off of just releases. And then, of course, we call it a wiggle or a double move, and then some type of speed out depending on how that alignment with that receiver is. So we'll show the picture. Like I said, a lot of our guys, especially, y'all know how kids are, they're visual type of guys. So we try to show them every picture known to man so they can get that in their mind and allow them to have success there. So those are the things that we kind of talk about when we go to level 2. We say, hey, this is between 6 to 11 yards. And like I said, I like what Coach Salazar was saying. You know, all of it's mental. The routes aren't being run, but mentally what they're doing is going through, hey, this is a hitch. This is my responsibility. This is where I'm supposed to be. And we're the exact same way, where it's kind of, hey, know where 6 to 11 yards is when you get lined up in your mind. Because now you understand if you keep your leverage right, all that good stuff, these are the routes that are going to happen there. So the big one that we kind of talk about is a curl. We always say a curl lives inside the hash. So we say inside between the numbers and the hash is where a curl is going to live. And then from digs and outs are a big thing. And like I said, a little bit of glance route off of it. So, you know, it was good off of glance, and heard somebody talking about RPOs. You know, we got to do a great job of understanding who our +1 defender is, what we call it, and not giving him, hey, I got to handle the B gap over here. But at the same time, got to handle, you know, a ball whizzing right by my ear by getting the offensive line at 5 yards down the field and blocking. I'm thinking it's run, and then I trigger, and next thing you know, the ball's going right by my ear. So, well, we try to eliminate by defensive calls and that type of stuff of giving those guys one job, you know, instead of trying to handle 2. So that was kind of a big thing we talked about. But here's our level 2, working there. And then, of course, our last one, whenever it wants to click over, will be our level 3, which is 12 yards and above. And those are all our verticals: back shoulder, deep post, deep digs, of course, 15 to 17-yard digs. And then, of course, post corners that we see over at the college level, depending on alignment and formation. All right, technique now. Like I said, if there's any questions or anything like that, holler. And then we'll start talking about technique. I'm going to try to talk as fast as I possibly can so I can make sure that y'all get all this information here. So going to hit with the corners, and then I'll hit with the safeties with our off technique whenever we're playing some type of man or possible zone. So our stance, our big thing that we talk about is weight on 3/4 of our push-off foot. So normally how we talk, we have our inside foot back and our outside foot up in our stance. We talk about having 3 bends in our ankles, our knees, and our hips. Majority of the time I tell them, hey, we want to be in a comfortable position. So that bend can be somewhere between 50 to 65 degrees. I'm not going to make these guys robots. Some guys may be a little bit lower. Some guys may be a little bit taller. But I want them to feel comfortable, but at the same time, not too low and not too high. Because we all know whenever you're teaching defensive backs, the guy that wins is low man. And so we want to stay low and stay in a good football position where we're able to break and drive and be athletic so we can perform our job. Our shoulders are over our toes. You always say a good indication is if my chin's over my front foot, directly over my front foot, the push-off foot, then we have even distribution and we're able to work from there. And then I say our arms are relaxed and comfortable working down at our side. So the key points that we talk about, like I told you, about 55 to 65 degree bend, weights on the balls of our feet, shoulders over our toes. And then we always talk about our eyes. Our eyes, you'll hear me say this 1,000 times. You win with your feet and your eyes. Our eyes have to have a focal point where you're going from quarterback to number 1, with our safeties from quarterback to number 2, or what we call number 4, which is the weak side receiver, or to number 5. So we always try to focus and have a good vision as we work. Now, once the ball snapped and we start getting into our back work, our back pedal and our footwork, like I said, we're a heel to toe stagger, depending on what we're in. If we're in a zone coverage or a man coverage, sometimes we'll take a 6-inch step inside to hold and keep inside leverage. Our biggest thing, I say, let's make the tougher throw happen, and normally the tougher throw happens to the outside instead of the inside. So that's a big thing that we talk about and try to emphasize. Now, as we work into our back pedal, we work to try to skim along the turf, what we call it. So and to keep our eyes focused. So skim our toes. You know, with our guys, I always got to use analogies and examples and that type of stuff. So of course I got to ask those jokers, all right, raise your hand if you know who Michael Jackson is. Believe it or not, some of the guys don't know who the hell he is. But anyway, so eventually they'll raise their hand. Coach, I know who he is. Okay, what's he famous for? Coach, he's famous for the moonwalk. All right, perfect. So when you moonwalk, what do? You skim your toes along the turf. So got to use that example. So guys are like, light bulb clicks in, clicks on, and they understand what I'm talking about. Now, the reason why we skim our toes along the turf is we all know as a DB, you got to try to eliminate as much movement as possible. So if I'm able to skim my toes along the turf, now I'm able to put a foot into the ground and be able to go and drive quicker rather than my toes coming off the ground. So we all know those split seconds are very, very important for us, whether it's the difference between a PBU interception or the guy completing the ball. So we want to try to eliminate and be efficient in all our technique so we can be successful. Like I said, inside leverage, majority of the time in our coverages, unless we're playing some cover 2 stuff, and then depending on safeties and stuff, whenever we get into man concepts, if we have a low hole or low rack guy, we'll move to outside leverage in man concepts or some of our cover 3 stuff. And then proper footwork. We teach both. We teach riding a bike or bicycle or typewriter, and also we'll teach T-step. The big thing early, if I'm a young coach and I got a young kid, normally what I'll try to do is teach bicycle. So what that is just foot fire as we start to work to get out of our break. And I'll show you on film, it's foot fire, driving your arms and working and driving. Then with our T-step, the big thing that we talk about is trying to do a quick swivel with our hips while putting our entire cleat into the ground, staying low with our shoulders and our hips, and then being able to drive. I don't care which one that they do. What we're going to do, whichever one you feel comfortable with, let's perfect it. If that means, and see how fast you can get from point A to point B. If he thinks that, hey, I got to run around in circles and then be able to drive, and I get there faster than doing the T-step and bicycle, by God, do it. I just want to see how fast you can get from point A to point B and allow you to be successful there. All right, so that's our footwork. And then what we try to do is make sure that we keep everything inside our hula hoop. You always hear break your cushion. Our cushions, our hula hoops are going to be different for everybody. Yours may be, you're athletic and that type of stuff, maybe 2 yards. Me, since I'm getting old and fat, maybe about 4 yards. But the big thing that we talk about normally with those guys, I say about 3 yards, trying to keep everything inside your hula hoop. Once those guys start to pressure or get inside your cushion or break your hula hoop, that's when I got to open my hips and be able to master out and run. And then, of course, the last thing, like I told you, we win with your feet and your eyes, okay? So whenever guys start getting out of our breaks into our level 1, level 2 zones, it's important that they drive their eyes for 2 hard steps. Drive your eyes for 2 hard steps. And I always use this analogy right here. If you see the ball thrown, you're probably going to see it get caught. That's a big thing that we talk about and making sure that we work from there. Also, what we'll do is our shuffle technique with our corners as well. So what shuffle's telling us is that we are turning our hips to the sideline, our butter to the sideline, and we're completely cocked, completely turned. All right, and I'll show you some film off of that. And so the big thing that we always talk about is, all right, we got these guys. We normally do it with younger guys that we want to continue to work to develop their pedal, but we need them to play early. And so to allow those guys an opportunity to do that, we'll do some shuffle technique in some of our coverages as well. So the big thing with that, live through the horror story of, okay, alignment's always a question we ask with some of these corners and that type of stuff. And I lived through it. I've had them outside. Next thing you know, getting beat on a post, beat on a post. And I'm ready to jump out the press box, ready to hurt myself. So then it's like, hey, move them inside. All right, move them inside. Next thing you know, they don't have eyes in the back of their head. So good receivers in college, they're going to press and get on their butt where they can't see. And then next thing you know, that guy starts to widen. And then, boom, now you're getting beat on the post. Or guy starts to panic and tries to flip his head around. And it becomes a horror story for a lot of our guys. So through trial and tribulation, that's where we started trying to emphasize of, I use my kneecap as an example on where to get a line. So I say I want my kneecap on the guy's crotch. So basically we're right through the thick of that guy. And what we work, how our technique is, we go from a tight shuffle and then to a run. And all I'm trying to do is stay through the thick of my receiver. So if he starts weaving me out, I'm slightly weaving out and staying through the thick. And once he starts to break my hula hoop or break my cushion, all I'm trying to do is let that guy run through me. All right. I can't get him too far outside. Can't get him too far inside, but I want to stay through the thick. And how we remind those guys, my indicator is my knee being on that guy's crotch. All right. So that's how we'll work shuffle technique there. Now with our safeties, all right, our safeties in our off technique. So same thing with our corners and our safeties. If we're playing any type of off man concepts, by the time the ball is snapped, we're going to be normally about 6 yards deep. Depending on down and distance, like I told you, some of our secondary principles, that guy may have to move down to 5 yards or 7 yards. But when we start getting to 4 and 3 yards, I say that's no man's land, all right? And so you're not really sure kind of what routes or anything that's happening to you. And so normally that's our happy medium between 5 to 7 yards and that type of stuff. If we start getting a little bit deeper, the big thing that you got to emphasize with those guys, if you get deeper, you got to be shoulder out, especially. And so that's why it's so critical how I started talking about down and distance and that type of stuff off what type of technique that we're going to perform depending on routes and where the ball is located. So like I told you, slightly inside alignment with zero coverage. What we talk about now with our safeties is a little bit different than our corners. Our alignment with our corners are going to be 1 to 2 yards inside, okay, and 6 yards deep. With our safeties now, we talk about our nose being an indicator, and so we want our nose to the inside eye to the furthest of the tip of the shoulder pad. So we're going to be a little bit closer to that receiver so we can handle the second level routes or first level routes and not be too far off. If your safety's 2 yards inside, they can run outs all day or stops or work away from you. You have no chance to defend that play. And so that's why we need to move a little bit closer in our alignment. Now, we talk about eye transfer with our corners. It's pretty simple. They're going from quarterback to number one. And the same thing with our safety now. Now they're working eye transfer, start on inside on the quarterback so you can get a run pass read. Do not tip off man coverage by staring down the receiver. Once you go from there, then boom, I'm snapping my eyes. Once this film starts, snap my eyes and transfer my eyes to the receiver. Now, as we work to transfer our eyes, we talk about our focal points. So our focal point's going to be on the hip to the middle of his rib cage, all right? When we talk about everything there is going to lie to you, all right? So I say it's kind of like what we put, it's kind of like your girlfriend. So like I told you, you always got to use analogies or examples or stories for these guys to understand. So tease around with them. I tell them, hey, it's like a girl that you meet her somewhere, meet her out at school or whatever it is. She has on makeup. She looks pretty good. And you're like, man, I want to get to know her. All right. So y'all start talking, y'all start dating. Next thing you know, she goes home and she washes off that makeup. Then you see her and it's like, whoa, what in the world happened? So everything up there in her face, shoulders, it's going to lie to you. All right. Not everything down at the bottom is going to be true to you. So we try to concentrate our eyes between the hip to the middle of the rib cage. And we say it's like your grandmother or somebody that is taking care of you, somebody that you can put trust in. So when those hips start to sink, all right, and they start to get down, you are making a break. So that's where we want to keep our vision. Our vision gets too high, y'all know you can lean your head one way and still run a different direction. If those hips are pointing in or pointing out, majority of the time, that's where your body's going, unless you got go-go gadget type of, arms or legs or hips, whatever you want to call it. And then we talk about once they start to sink, you're getting out of a break, any type of high hips, we're thinking we're going to be on the fly. So depending on, like I told you, what we're doing, there's different type of techniques. So we got a patient pedal technique where we're trying to work to hold leverage. A lot of receivers, especially in the Big 12 or the SEC conference, there's some dynamic guys. And so it's cool that we work our technique and understand that. And a lot of those guys, especially when you're playing off leverage, what they're trying to do is trying to get in the middle of your body and then make it tough on you whether I got to work and be inside or outside on route. So we have to work on stemming and working on proper footwork. So normally talk about is a patient pedal or a patient step inside with that inside foot. So keys at route levels, like I told you, big thing as guys start to work and we start to break. Now you're seeing how everything's working. That hip starts to sink, that inside hip is working, and now we got an outcut with the outside bend on that knee, and now we're working the drive. So that's how we kind of break that thing down. Like I told you, a lot of our guys are visual guys. So you see these concepts and that type of stuff in these diagrams. They're like, oh man, this is pretty sweet. So same thing, working downfield, staying high. Now look at our hip on the outside, hip on the inside. Now we're working sync, and now we're working on inside cut. Now guys working downfield. Now he's in our second level. Hips are staying high. Now we're thinking some type of vertical route or what we call a outside vertical whenever we're working with our safety. Like I told you, our key progression, pre-snap reads, we're going. We got to make sure we have great eye discipline. So same thing. What we talk about a primary key and our secondary key. So our primary key, especially at safety, is at quarterback and running back. We try to steal as many little things as we can possibly steal to make sure that our guys are going to be successful and play at a fair level. So as we break down stuff and look at situations, a big thing that we look at in our primary is back, our running back. What's the depth? What's going on there? Where's our quarterback located? Is our back deeper? Is he even with? Because it's going to help us out recognizing, hey, are we getting some type of RPOs? What type of runs? Are we getting run game downhill? Are we getting run game side to side? So we'll try to steal those as much as we possibly can whenever we're trying to diagnose and get in a line. And then same thing, once we recognize run pass, our eyes will snap to our number 2 or our number 4 receiver. So how we number our receivers, we start on the outside, start from passing strings. So number 1, number 2, the running back may be number 3 or number 4, and then 4 and 5 to the other receiver. So communication is always huge. So it makes it easy for our guys. I'm like, hey, guys, we were born to count 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And nothing bothered me more from being in the box and then talking to our secondary guys. Hey, where did this route come from? Coach, he was number 2. Okay, which number 2? I think he was weak. No, I think he was strong. So my number 1 came here. And so for our communication, just number 1 through 5, coach, it was number 5 that ran across. Now I know in my mind, okay, hey, that guy started from the weak side and worked over to the strong side. So that's how we number those receivers. I'm trying to move on to this next slide. Like I told you, I'm getting, So here's our techniques. We've got 3 different techniques that we try to work to perform. The first one, I put PP technique, which is our patient pedal. So like I told you, trying to main inside or outside leverage, depending on what we're trying to work. A guy's trying to work to close our cushion about 2 to 3 yards. And like I said, patient pedal is a slow walk, or what we call scooch out of there. So scooch is just kind of a little shuffle, whatever's comfortable with those guys. And then work on my vertical path. If I got to move inside or outside about the technique, what we do is kind of like a kick slide to keep our hips square to the line of scrimmage as much as we can. But the big thing that we got to do is keep our relationship with our receiver. So that nose on the inside eye to the furthest to the tip of the shoulder pad off of that. Once we recognize off of those breaks, watching our hips, our eyes from the hip to the middle of the rib cage, now we're going to work back and cut off what we need to. Catch technique is the other one. So this is basically a flat foot bounce. We like to do this on certain down and distances, guys, okay? So when we're in a main concept and we know that, hey, it's probably 1 to 5 yards where now we don't want to patient pedal. It's 3rd down situation. Now we're going to work our catch technique. So it's a flat foot bounce. We think we need to shuffle to maintain any type of leverage. All right. And what we do as the receiver tries to work to start to close, now Our technique's got to be great. We got to stay down and making sure that we keep leverage. Now, as guys start to work to press or close on my hula hoop or my cushion, boom, I got a 2-hand punch. And what we call it 210. I'm from San Antonio, and the area code there is 210. So it's a countdown city. So I gotta say, you gotta use your countdown technique. So if I'm inside his cylinder or frame, boom, I'm shooting 2 hands. So 2, and then once he declares inside or outside, boom, goes to 1. And then once I start getting into it, then it goes to 0 if the route goes a little bit further. So we'll work our 210 or countdown city technique off of that. But once you recognize that, everything matches like your patient pedal. And then, of course, our pin technique is more with our high safety, so our free safety and boundary safety. With that pin technique, what we're working to do is not give a whole bunch of ground. Once the ball is snapped, we will quarter turn and slightly shuffle to hold our leverage while the receiver tries to work to break our cushion or break our hula hoop. We're trying to make sure that the guy runs through us, including the inside hip, and then being able to work from there. So those are the 3 techniques that we work, of course, as safeties in our technique stuff. All right, our press technique is taught across the board with our corners and our safeties, our stance. We go even with our feet, all right? I tell them, hey, that's the best way for you to be able to cut off routes and make sure that we're working from there. I hate when guys start doing the Deion Sanders, start staggering their feet and all that mess because you're going to take wasted steps, your eyes get bad and all that stuff. I want to try to eliminate as much movement and motion, moving around, and let those guys be efficient in what they do. Same thing with our alignment. Our nose is our indicator. So what we talk about, I want that guy's nose on his inside eye. So we're basically almost through the thick of that guy. All right. If the guys don't know where their nose is located, I say, hey, you got a neat thing called a foot as well. So your foot, if you can't figure out where your nose is supposed to be, try to have that foot splitting his crotch or a little bit further outside of that. All right. And so that's where our alignment is going to be. So if his little pecker fell out of his pants, your foot will be able to step on it. All right. That's what we kind of, and they're like, oh, okay, that guy get it. All right. So your weight, like I told you, 3/4 on the balls of your feet, 3 bends in your ankles, knees, and your hips, about 60-degree bend, chest flat over your toes. Like I told you, you win with your feet in your eyes. Your hands are something secondary that's going to allow you to dominate. All right. Because too many guys, and y'all have all seen it, they want to try to win with their hands. Next thing you know, their feet die. And then next thing you know, their band is playing. So that's a big thing that we talk about. So eyes, we talk about focal point is eyes to the hip, to the middle of the rib cage. When I was going through and I'm a shorter guy, I always heard eyes on the hips, on the hips, on the hips. And so next thing you know, I'll go get those long arm receivers. And the next thing you know, my eyes are down, and which brought my head down, and I was getting slapped in the back of the head and guys were taking off. I'm like, this is some bull crap. So what I naturally had to do was kind of raise my vision and concentrate it in the middle of the hip. All that's going to be true to you. Like I told you, everything up there is going to lie on your shoulders and that type of stuff. So, and then our hands are in an attack mode. So we acting like, hey, if I threw a basketball to you, we'll be able to catch the basketball. And we always say that, you know, where do you want your arms? I don't like them down, because eventually if you're going to, we'll talk about put hands on somebody, putting hands on them. What do you got to do? Boom, you got to bring those things up. I might as well start here so I can be quicker here. And I tell them, hey, if you're a boxer, all right, and you see whoever it is, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, they don't bring, Floyd does all types of mess. But anyway, majority of those guys that used to really, really whoop some ass, their hands are up, you know, and boom, I'm quicker there rather than, hey, I'm going to have my hands down and then try to bring them up. It just takes too long. So that's a big thing that we talk about there. Now, got a bunch of different techniques that we do. We try to concentrate on mirror technique and inch technique. Then also we got a punch and run / bail. That's been pretty good for us in cover 3 concepts. Also man free concepts in our punch and run and our bail. So our mirror technique, to make it nice and easy and quick as much as I possibly can, all we're doing is trying to shuffle at the line of scrimmage to deny the release of a receiver. All right. And we'll do some drills where we make, it's kind of like a funnel. So we'll have 2 cones on each side, or little dots, 2 dots on, and they just kind of get a little bit wider as we go on. And we kind of call it our funnel technique, our funnel drill. And all those guys are doing the work, and we'll give a receiver some type of inside stem, some type of MOR, must outside release. And all they're doing is working the shuffle. And to make things easy for those guys, I say, hey, it's acting like we're playing basketball. We want to try to distribute and get hands on those individuals as quick as we can. And depending on his release, that's where we work our hand jam, either 2-1-0. If it's inside your body frame, hey, you can work 2 hands. If it's outside, a little bit outside your body frame, then we got to work 1 hand. All right. If it's a really wide or inside release, then we probably won't get any hands until we get a little bit more further into phase. So those guys understand that. Of course, you got to continue to work it. And like I said, keep your feet busy and work. Don't open the gate and allow a free release. So we'll work our mirror technique. Now, our inch technique is exact same thing at the top of the route. Early, as soon as you get movement, all you're doing is taking quick choppy steps or quick bounce steps to get to a secure position, all right? And then we're working our mirror technique once we work from there. So we talk about hand placement. Our hand, what we're trying to do, once we start getting into phase, into our level 1, level 2 drill, routes, our hand placement, we're trying to work to what we call shake the armpit. What I mean by shake the armpit is I want my thumb up and my elbow down. You're going to be a lot stronger once guys start to try to squat and swim. You're going to be a lot stronger with your elbow down. I say we don't want a wet noodle, all right? Or like I said, I got to use example with those guys. We don't want to fill on breast, okay? When you fill on breast over in school, what's going to happen? Your hand is upright and your elbow is going to be high. And normally when that happens, those guys swat and swim you, those receivers, and you're not going to be strong with your jam. All right. And it's the same thing. If you're supposed to keep that hand there, you're not going to be stronger. So we want elbow down, we want thumb up, and like we're shaking the armpit, what we talked about. Then our punch and run and bell technique are 2 similar things, and just puts a little bit of confusion in guys' minds. And so what our punch and run technique is we're going to, by the time the ball snapped, we're going to be slightly outside, and we are going to punch and try to make contact with that receiver and then run and stay right through the thick like we're working on shuffle technique. All right. And that's been really good, a real good change up for our guys. And also our bell technique, now we're leaving a little bit earlier. All right. We're going to pivot off that outside foot and then work from a run to a possible tight shuffle. If you leave a little bit early, then it's a tight shuffle, and then we're working to a run. So basically our shuffle technique from there. All right. And then the big thing, like I told those guys, we concentrate on more mirror and inch. And then I say, hey, we always got to have a changeup. All right. So just like baseball pitchers, if they continue to run, throw a fastball, those guys are going to catch on. What can we do to mess up timing? What can we do to put some indecision in quarterbacks and receivers' minds, or some of these different techniques that we can possibly do? We got an Ali technique, which is a surprise attack, which receivers that get lazy off the ball, boom, we take a 6-inch step, we 2-hand punch them, and then we try to control them at the line of scrimmage. The big thing is that we can't get overstride. We got to be aware of that, and then being able to work from there. And then our ghost technique's a fake Ali technique. That's about to pull up. It's a fake Ali technique, and then working from our inch off of it, and then working the match. So we got different things that go on, different techniques that we do. Like I told you, we concentrate majority into our mirror technique, and then our inch technique, and then of course our punch and run and bail. Those are kind of the 3 things that we try to concentrate on. And then I say, hey, a change up is maybe every 7 plays that you're working. And we all know it's about timing. If you can throw off the timing and that type of stuff, good things are going to happen for you. Now, with our drill work, I'm going to try to get through as much as I possibly can drill work wise. This is a little like diagram. I know it's hard to see right now. It looks like some Chinese person wrote it, but or excuse me, Chinese person, Chinese hieroglyphics. So anyway, so it's tiny. I can't see it, but that is a checklist that I like to have. So during the week, like I said, I try to be as efficient as I possibly can. And with the efficiency there, I just try to make sure that as I go through the week, that I'm not repeating things that I don't need to work on. And so as I go through the week and say on Monday, hey, I got to hit W drill, footwork wise, bicycle, I got to do a tackling drill, I got to do a ball drill. So I make sure that I keep myself on cue, on phase, and not do things that aren't needed to be done during the week, or I don't get too forgetful on that. So that's always helpful whenever you're going through stuff. Then the last thing, of course, tackling fundamentals. The big thing, guys, is see what you hit, maintaining leverage, strike and shoot and wrap. It drives me crazy, some of these guys that come in there and just run and try to hit somebody and don't use their arms. I said, the good Lord has blessed you with arms to do two things, and that's to hold your significant other and to also tackle people. So why not use them? That's why the good Lord gave them to you. So violently wrap, shoot your arms like in a garbage truck position, and then drive your knees. We say for power. So if you're trying to push a car uphill, hot feet, it's not going to get it done. You got to drive your knees into the thigh board for power. And a lot of that comes from whenever we talk about profile tackles, all right? So frontal tackles. A lot of times in the back end, we're on this second phase, what we call a wrap and gator roll, is a lot of the technique that we use there, especially with secondary guys. So big thing, eyes to thigh, what we talk about, track the near hip, shoulder tackle, try to keep your head out of there as much as you possibly can. Like I said, wrap and gator roll, track, tackle, inside out leverage and open field. And then we work a gut zone. So any type of defenseless receiver trying to work on keeping your helmet and guys not getting taken out from there. And then, of course, a profile tackle is normally the last one that we'll do. And that's near shoulder to near pec in a confined area. So those are the different tackling concepts that we talk about. And then just some key points of, like I said, tracking, change of direction, leverage, angles. Preparation is going to be the bend in your knees and pad level. And like I said, always trying to work to hit on the rise, our contact area with our correct shoulder, trying to keep our head out, always bringing your hips. Once you make contact, you leave your hips behind, especially against good, thicker backs or receivers. They're going to spin out of it or get out of it. Once we make contact, powerful knee drive, and then work our finish of grabbing body parts with tight squeezes to take guys down to the ground violently. All right, so these are some of the different drills that we'll do. I'm going to go through this as fast as I possibly can. So like I told you, I'm sorry about the film that I don't have anything from Mississippi State yet. So this is from Texas. So we do all our drills with our corners and our safeties in our footwork drills. We do all our drills on the line. And then what I also like to have are these shoots right here. So our shoots, what they do, they keep these guys' shoulders low as we start to work different type of techniques and that type of stuff. So these two guys, and I like to, this guy's a taller corner. He's all a 6'1.5", 6'2", and a taller guy. And so the big thing that we talk about with our safeties and our corners are you have to play, especially with our taller guys, you have to play like a 5'10" guy or a 5'9" guy. And how you do that is by this, having good bend and being athletic, all right? If you play high, you're not going to be very good, all right? So that's a big thing that we talk about. So what we work on, having a good stance. As the coach, I'm just working and going slow. I just pat the ball once. Once we go slow, we're doing our patient pedal, just walking out. And then as I hit the ball again, we'll go into a fast technique. So what I'm looking at here, I'm just looking at as I start to evaluate, are those guys skimming their toes on the turf? Good. Are their hips staying down? Good. Or do they have good arm action? Are they working to rub the inside of their palms almost to their love handles? That's good. That's fine. Shoulders staying over the toes. good, staying down and working from there. So that's all I'm trying to look at as those guys start to work, just an easy back pedal off of that. Now, if you look at this next guy right here, all right, what I'm mad about over here with number 18 here is that now what he's doing, look at his arms here, all right? There's no arm action, so when we start getting out of breaks, you're gonna have to use your arms to prepare yourself. So I'll tell them, hey, stop milking a cow, all right? And so y'all know how you sit there and pull on the cow's little whatchamacallits. I say stop milking the cow right there, all right? Now we work, change of direction, all right? Change of direction stuff. So exact same thing, working, trying to put my foot into the ground. So this guy over here, number 5, is working or ride the bike, all right? So feet are underneath him, great leverage, great body position. Look at where his shoulders are, hips are down low. This one over here that has both his feet off the ground is working a T-step, all right? Working a T-step. So let me try to break this down one more time so y'all can see how everything looks. So let's look at over here at Holton Hill and watch his technique. So ride the bike, good job, hips stay down, feet stay inside the cylinder, works his arms, and look how fast he's through. And the thing that I like as we're starting to work, look at him train his eyes now. He takes his eyes through the route, and then he's gonna work to get them back. Now let's look at Chris over here. Both these guys play for the Minnesota Vikings, all right? They're teammates, believe it or not. So this guy right here, now he's working his T-step. The thing that I'm upset with on his T-step, he's okay. He can have a little bit better bend. He's too flat with his back. His back can be a little bit higher, but as he starts to work with his T-step, guys, what I told you, the big thing that you got to concentrate on for you to get from point A to point B, from you to get to point A to point B is hips, hips, hips. He's got to quickly swivel his hips that direction to get his entire cleat into the ground. And then the thing that we talk about where I break it down, now your foot is too high, all right? Your foot has to stay closer to this ground, so now I can change direction and go. Now you see the difference with how long it takes Chris to get out, and y'all see where Holton is off that bike ride. So to correct that, now what he needs to do is have a quick swivel of the hips, keep these feet as close as he can to the ground, and then we're able to react and move from there. All right, I think it's gonna move on maybe. Let's try, come on now. All right, we're slowly moving. All right, so exact same thing now. Come on, work. All right, this one should be now opening up at a, opening up and drive. So big thing that we talk about here, and you can see the two differences. The big thing is trying to keep those shoulders down once we come open. Like I told you, that's why I like these shoots over here, making sure that shoulders are staying down. We're gonna be quicker in movement. Now, as you start to work, and I pause this, all right, I'm sitting over here and I'm saying, okay, look at the difference between these two guys. All right, shoulders are staying down, shoulders are popping up. So now I'm bringing them, I open them up, and now watch the difference between Chris's shoulders and Holton's shoulders, and you'll see these guys change the direction. Chris is raising his shoulders, and now as we start to work, what he has to do is go from a higher position now down to a lower position. Holton's shoulders are staying down and open his hips as he's running, and now look at the change of direction. He's almost already through this chute. He's all the way about 2 yards from that chute because of him right here, open his shoulders and being too high. Now sink that outside hip and go and drive, and the change of directions night and day. And then the same thing, those guys going to train their eyes. Now Chris is better on here, just opening both sides. Now working the other side, good job of popping his hips open. All right, better with his shoulders now. And look at the drive. Foot's into the ground, foot is closer to the ground, and now we're able to drive and go and finish there. All right, I know this thing's not working for me. Come on. All right, so the exact same thing, like I told you, going to drive there. Now the next one, same thing. Now we'll work a little bit of 45 degrees. So just very basic. Now moving the things to the side. Watch number 5. I love it. Good arm action. Boom, riding the bike, takes his hips to where he needs to go. Great job with his eyes. Look at him go attack, and then watch his eyes get back. You're gonna get to that route that much faster if you're able to do that. Now with number 2, arms get a little bit too wide, decent of riding the bike, keeping his feet there, and better with the transition out of his break. Same thing here. Let me get to this next one. Coach Cam, how much time do I have?
You're good on time, Coach. You're
Okay.
fine. That's we got all day, Coach. You're good,
Okay.
buddy.
Just holler at me if I need to stop or anything like that, and
No,
I'll try.
good.
I told you as much as I can. All right. So now I kind of functified it just a little bit. So still working downhill 45. Number 2 has the easy way. All right. So sticking his outside foot. But now what we did is just transition, and now we're opening up. All right. Instead of just driving straight downhill. So guy broken our hula hoop or our cushion. Now I'm working and opening up and driving downhill 45 right here. Okay. So same thing, got to get his foot into the ground. His eyes start to drop. Got to keep those hips square as much as I possibly can to work to get to my chute. Now, at number 5 now. All right. So same thing. Now we're both opening to our right. And then now he's a baseball turning back around. So great job with leverage angles with our shoulders. Hips are staying down. Now, as we work our baseball turn, now we talk about trying to snap our chin from one side, from our outside shoulder, now back to our inside shoulder. Your chin is naturally going to get your body turned around so you can work to get to where you need to be and be able to go and drive, okay? We do this a little bit of baseball turn. If we are doing this all the time, then we're doing something wrong. So we concentrate and try to practice this at least one time a week just to make sure that we're getting a lot. But like I told you, you win with your feet in your eyes and making sure that my body's in position. All right. So that's what we'll work off those 2. I'm going to try to get through. Now with our shuffle technique, what I like to do, as you can tell, now I took away, the second chute. And like I told you, the big thing as we work our shuffle technique, what's most important, I think, is the start. Is staying down and having a tight shuffle. Some of these guys, we get into situations where, and it bugs me to death as we start working on shuffle technique, they want to just kind of like hop, like they're hopping in the woods or hopping in at the park. And so it gets them into bad situations where now they got to sink down and it takes too long. So we talk about a tight shuffle. You heard Coach Salazar talk about 3-step reads and 5-step reads. We're real big on that also. Understanding, hey, where's a 3-step, what's a 5-step, and where's this stuff going to happen in our level zones, all right? So when we work our patient or shuffle technique, we're a tight shuffle to a run. So as you can tell, as you look at these guys, and what we have ankle bands around their ankles, all right? And so all that's doing is just trying to work to keep their feet and their body underneath their armpits there, okay? And work on changing direction and keeping everything there. So just working from a tight, I'll say tight, they'll get their 3-step and shuffle reads, and then we'll go from a run there and then work in the sink. So this has been really, really good and really beneficial. And normally what I'll do, I'll put ankle bracelets on after we really try to get through a lot of work, okay? So try to get those legs tired and then start putting those ankle bracelets on. Now they really have to concentrate on putting their feet into the ground, and it really burns inside those hamstrings in the front of their legs. Now, once they graduate from there, same thing now. As you can tell, now I just took the chutes away. And graduation means, hey, they're keeping their shoulders over their toes or staying down in their hips. Anytime that thing starts to get a little bit worse or change, then boom, I'm bringing those chutes back out there. Sometimes it turns into like Christmas time where those things are hitting, their helmets are hitting the chutes. Ding, 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 ding. And so we have a good laugh on that. All right, next one, next drill is what we call gain it, all right, gain it. So you heard me talk about, and especially we do a lot of this, especially on either reduced routes or reduced alignments from our number 5 or number 1 receiver with our corners, and then our inside safeties, and especially man techniques, we do this. So gain it, all we're trying to work to do in this situation is as we're starting to get stems, we will push you, and it's all it is a kick slide and then work to get vertical. Kick slide and work to get vertical. All right, so gain it, keep my nose, and I'm trying to keep my hips square to the line of scrimmage, guys, okay? Because I'm a true believer in if you can keep your hips square to the line of scrimmage, you're able to break on things down here, you're going to be a lot more successful. When your hips start getting turned and that type of stuff, that's when you start looking like a fool. All right. So we got to make sure, and we try to gain it from there. So as we progress, now we're just working on gaining it. Now we're just working the exact same thing. Now we're talking about alignment. So I'm getting the stem inside. All right. And we talked about, remember, our nose wants to be on the guy's inside eye to the furthest of the tip of the shoulder pad. So if you look over here at number 5, you're going to see me explain to him at the top of the route, he's a little bit too far inside right now. Okay. So I'm saying, hey, we need to scoot over just a little bit so I can match that inside eye. His body leverage is taking away what? The inside route. So I'm good there. I know that. I got a whole presence there. If I get too far there, and especially with a lot of these choice routes that we see from Coach Leach and some of these other programs that throw the ball 175 times, we got to make sure that we're efficient in what we do, all right? And we can't lose that leverage. So I'm telling them, hey, look how tall he is. All right, hey, scoot your little big butt over here and get a little bit closer for me, all right? So same thing, just switch it around, try to get as many reps as we possibly can. Good job there. So inside stem, watch him right there, working and gaining it. Then as we get to the top of the route, we talk about once that guy starts to get vertical, now I want quicker, wider, faster feet. I'm about 2 to 3 yards from there. And then as you can tell me, boom, that's where I want to work. We're working outside leverage there. All right. So that's really good for good technique. Guys are getting work and being able to work in being exact on focal points and that type of stuff. So once we finish from that, we talk about now we're getting into the middle of routes. So we talk about having a 1-by-1 relationship. We call this our brace drill. All right. So as the guys start to work downfield, what we're trying to do, and we're trying to mirror hips. My eyes are concentrating to the hip to the middle of the rib cage. All right. And so now somebody's hip sink, and what I'm trying to do is throw my brace. All right. We call this brace drill. So my brace is going to be throwing either my right or left arm, depending on which where I'm at. And I'm trying to put my wrist on that guy's back, because we know once a break starts to happen, guys, they're going to try to do what? Try to put their arm on and try to slide you by. All right. So we're 1-by-1 working down. This is good because you get a lot of good reps. So 5 now, what I'm mad about, he's trying to feel on Coach Huff's ass. All right. He don't need to do that. I need something strong like that so I can stop my momentum and put my feet into the ground. And so we go into different phases. I don't think I have the second phase on this, but this is the first phase. Just stopping your momentum, using your brace, and sitting down in your hips. You can tell as I push play on this, number 18, I don't want him turned there, okay? Because eventually he's going to have to make a break. And so what we talk about is inside or outside break. Once he makes that inside or outside break, now what I'm going to do is use this hand, especially with the inside break. If this guy starts to work here, boom, I'm going to pop that left arm on his shoulder, and it's naturally going to pop my hips open so I can work on and close on the fade, on the inside stem. And that's what we talked about. If our hand comes on as a receiver, what he's trying to do is slide you by to get back underneath you. So you got to be great and sit down in your hips on that. So as you continue on, now look at what's going on. So we got a bunch of guys getting these reps. And at the beginning, how I started off, I just tell them when I want them to sink. So they'll work down and work 3, and then I'll say sink, boom. As they start getting a little bit more developed, then I'll let them sink on their own, and we can get a lot of work in, and guys aren't standing and watching. This next drill, like I said, Coach, just stop me whenever you're ready, man. I can go all day. Is that cool?
Oh, that's good, Coach. Keep we're good. No time restraints.
Awesome. All right. So this next drill is a cover 2 drill. So what we're trying to do, this is just with our corners and our safeties. All right. Because we got a play in our defense where our boundary safety is going to slide down and replace the corner. We're blitzing the corner off the edge, and so our boundary safety is going to be the corner. So so we got to make sure that both those guys understand technique and some of that other stuff. So this is a cover 2 drill, reduces a lot of running. And what we talk about is just what type of releases are we getting in our cover 2. So as you can tell, it's reduced. Normally, whenever we line up and playing a squat corner, we're about anywhere between 6 to 5 yards. We'll do a little bit of press, but majority we're showing some type of off. and then working from there. We got what we call a splat technique, where we show press, we shuffle out and then turn around and splat them. There's different things that we can do to show a different picture to it. So anyway, with the MOR release. So right now, MOR means a must outside release. So what this guy, I say you're on a plank and you got to work lateral, okay? We can't give ground. If we give ground, then our butt's going to get in trouble. So what I'm trying to do is laterally shuffle to deny this release. Once you recognize this receiver starting to work a MOR, a must outside release. Now, all I'm trying to do, all right, all I'm trying to do on that must outside release, I'm trying to place my outside arm. That left arm, I'm trying to put right through his heart, okay? And so if I'm able to put that right through his heart, now it naturally does what? It opens my hips, okay? So all I need is, boom, open my hips, all right? And why are they getting the must outside release? Is because they're probably putting somebody into your flat. So I got to do a great job of getting my eyes and my hips open. I wish he doesn't have to stay on as long. He's bad with his hand, with his jam. He needs to get his eyes, and I think he does a good job of keeping his eyes there. But once I get that jam and control it, now I got to snap my eyes open. And now we talk about run and play the hole until somebody threatens my flat. All right, so we'll work on different releases out of there. MOR, like I told you, must outside release. Now just the inside release. So right there, I'm kind of looking at him. Hey, just be patient, man. Let him break your cushion. You see how he's giving a little bit of ground? And I'm okay, but I like his feet. His feet are staying busy there. His eyes are there. And then boom, working that collision on that inside shoulder. Good. Once I make collision, we talk about collision, funnel inside, open, and then work the sink. So we talk about running for 3 into a tight shuffle. So this next drill is without a receiver. So coach is working here. I'm pushing them inside and outside. Now we're denying the inside stem or denying the outside stem. Now I'll open them. So just open. Now we're running to play the hole into a tight shuffle. And now once I get into that tight shuffle, we run for 3 into a tight shuffle. And his eyes are going back to the quarterback. All right. So high shoulder, we'll bring him and push him to the 7 cut. So he's got to push his hips to the sideline. All right. Low shoulder is going to bring him down like he's getting something to his flat. So this is just, I like working this drill right here because it incorporates everything that we got to do, from denying the release, opening up to a tight to a low shuffle, and then breaking off a ball and then catch. And then we talk about ball to chin. All right. And take care of the football. So exact same thing, boom, 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 run, tight shuffle, and then push his hip to the sideline because he got high shoulder for the 7 cut. Same thing, work. Now as you can work, good. The only thing I got to tell him, hey, it's always easier coming in than out. So once we recognize, hey, we're getting a 7 cut or a vertical, push his hips here. All right, push his hips here. It's always easier to go there than to push vertical. And y'all seen it before, then, oh crap, and the ball's getting completed over there. And you're like, come on, man, you gotta be kidding me. All right, so always push there, all right, push your hips to the sideline, and then work and react from there, and knowing that you got some type of help or anything like that. Also some safety drills. So working, these are with our high safeties whenever we're playing some type of cover 2. So pushing vertical, and then just simple ball drills, man, pushing out of 45 to work and cover receiver. So exact same thing, start right in the middle of it. And then we'll work and pedal you whenever this goes on. All right, work and pedal you, get you open, and then working and reacting off a ball, catching the ball at the high point and working there. This is what we have as a block destruction drill. So we always talk about defeating blocks, all right, and getting off receivers and being physical with guys. So we call this a difference drill. So our hands are inside. We shoot our hands, and same thing as we start to work. Just like you're playing press man, and you talk about hands, what you want is your elbows down, your elbows low, boom, and work and slide. And we talk about we want to snag him to our back hip, all right? So you don't run before you defeat the snag. So what we want to do is try to defeat the snag, defeat it, throw it down to your back hip, and now you're able to run. We always finish off with some type of ball drill at the end, either recovering a fumble, and we talk about recovering fumble, got to be like a shortstop, like Alex Rodriguez, bend your hips, and then work from there. So this is good. Talk about hand placement, eyes there, elbows down, and working and snagging. So that's always a good drill for us. Now we'll just add on the whole part of now defeating the block, working on difference drill, and now working the tackle. So this is a gator tackle that we're working here, like I told you and talked about. So our eyes are going to take us where we need to go. So his eyes need to concentrate at the thigh boards. That's the neat thing. They got so many different gadgets. So normally what we'll be doing is having two that are working on each side so guys aren't standing around. But right now we're working a gator tackle. So head's going to be behind. Eyes are working toward the thigh board. The common problem with these floats here, some of these guys like to dive into them. So we really got to emphasize bringing near knee, good job of working to run through, and then working as we work, use your arms and working gator roll. Boom, once you make contact, now roll and flip that body and attack body parts there. So that's how that kind of works with all that as you're working from there. So just adding on and incorporating, getting off the block now with our safeties or our corners, snagging, and then making sure that we're taking the proper angle to go and tackle. All this is right here is just defeating cut blocks, and then same thing, finishing with a ball. So what we're trying to do is work eyes down. You defeat cut blocks with body position and eyes down. All right, we want to be strong with our hands. And normally what we're going to talk about is trying to give a little bit of ground so that guy can't get in on my body. All right, so as we work, we should give just a tad bit of ground just to make sure he can't get in on my body. And then I can work and get off. So right now we're just pausing. Boom, we're going hands on, just making sure body position and everything's staying down. Outside foot is back, eyes are back, and then we'll say ball and then let him get off. So some of these guys, if you try to slap down at it, like you're trying to slap down the top of his head, now it butts in a little bit of trouble. Here's a good rep right here. So working here, boom, giving a little bit of ground, and then boom, scooping and scoring. So that's some of the cut stuff that will work. All this is man technique stuff. So this is just working on our inch drill right here. So I'm the receiver, still same thing, man. We got shoots and all that good stuff. Right now I'm working with a little, got them tired. And so working with a little bit of bands, just trying to work to keep everything underneath them. So as we work to start to inch, just staying vertical with our hips. Now what I'm adding on, the first group now is working and popping their hips and opening at a 45. This first group right here is, or the second group that's going, they're just working just vertical release off of it, okay? And so I'm working there and working to shoot hand and showing all that stuff, okay? And then next, of course, they'll go. Once they graduate, all right, now we can work and have no shoots. And all I'm doing is just one movement and just working. I always talk about, hey, you're not done until I get you out. So watch these guys, they pop their hips and guess what their feet are doing? Got to stay busy, okay? Got to stay busy and you win with those things as much as you possibly can. Same thing there now. As you look at 26, I don't know what the hell he's doing, all right? So we're trying to pop. I'm trying to put that foot on that line. He's stepping off the line. I'm like, hey, what the heck are you doing, man? Get your shit right, all right? Or you're going to be standing next to me, okay? So too high, got to stay down with his hips, and he's too wide. You see how his feet, he's opening up the gate. Look at where his feet are, all right? His feet are on this line, so I'm able to tell him, hey, you're opening the gate just a little bit. Got to work at a 45 to deny that release there, okay? So a lot of guys getting a bunch of different reps, and we just continue to go on. Now we add on receivers to it, like I said, and everything that we do, we work in progression. So now we're working a little bit of, we can work mirror technique, we can work inch technique, so same thing. And now, same thing, win with your feet and your eyes. You don't see any hands coming on right now. All I'm trying to do is just work on leverage, work on leverage, work on leverage, make sure those feet are busy, make sure you pop those hips open, and then we work from there. Now I'm working two guys, all right, and I'm right in the middle. Now what I'm doing is just working a little mirror technique. So I'm working my outside stem, I'm mirroring it. Working my inside stem, I'm mirroring it. Now I'm coming off and now I'm working the inch technique. Outside, inside, vertical, and now popping hips there, okay? So getting all three phases or all three techniques into one. So working outside or inside, deny it, mirror, inch, and now working the shoot. So good at staying down right there. So that's a little bit of that technique. Now, once again, now working what we call counter react. So he does a good job working vertical out of it, boom, push, and then push and pop hips. and stay open. So just working counter react off of me in the middle. So like I told you, a lot of reps are being able to working one way and working the other, popping hips and hands. And right now, just working one hand and shooting it to the opposite breastplate. So same thing will happen here. All right. And now all I'm doing is working off the line and working our mirror technique here. So boom, boom, and getting it open without getting any type of grass there. And same thing, they got shoots on, bands on right there as well. All right, let me see what we got next. So still working it now, just without any shoots or anything like that off of that.
Awesome, Coach. Awesome. I love it. Love it.
Awesome. And then real quick, I'll finish off with same thing. Just we got some tackling. So we'll do of course our tackling drills. So working angle, gator roll, tackle. Try to reduce the field as much as we can. But like what I talked about, what we're trying to do is try to work to run through, see what you hit. The neat thing with these pads, these things that we got right here, they got numbers. And so we try to concentrate and keep our eyes on guys' numbers and staying down. We're okay. We leave the head behind, work to wrap, make sure that you're running behind in our gator technique, gator roll. As you can tell, eyes and helmet are behind, and then bringing it down from there. So we tackle almost every day in some type of form or fashion, okay? Just to be good at it, and it's a lost art for a lot of our guys. And so to be good at it, you got to do it, we say. So that can be off of that. At Texas, of course, they print its own money. So we had all types of different gadgets and stuff. Hopefully this thing will pop up, but they had like a little motorized deal that you could use as a motorized gadget. And so we used that bad boy. Of course, we had the inflatables. We had a bunch of stuff. I don't know why. Hopefully it'll come through.
Hey, Coach, we've got a question here. Maybe we can,
yes,
maybe we can get to a couple of questions if we've got Jeremy Collins, Coach Collins. Coach Collins, you unmute yourself. You're good.
Coach, you have to unmute me.
Oh, I have to?
No, we can hear you, Coach Collins.
Okay. Hey, Coach, for your safety reads, you said you had their eyes in the backfield. What is their run read if you get eyes in the backfield with your safety with that too high look?
Okay, so their run read, and it's the same thing. What we kind of talk about is more with their run read is just recognizing what we're getting play field action wise. And, you try to use the term try to read the triangle. And I normally, especially in the Big 12, it's too much for our guys because a lot of times we do get run reads. I mean, guys are 2 or 3 yards down the field, and then next, we're getting an RPO thrown down right past our head. So we try our best to majority just try to read quarterback and running back situations. And that's why it's so critical, Coach Collins, that we try to recognize the depth of that running back. And then, of course, down and distance and some of those other things. So that's kind of became a lost art off of, read the triangle or read, unhatted offensive line, and he'll tell you as you're getting your run pass. That normally goes out the window for us. So as I'm breaking down film, I try to give them little things that allow them to be successful. So if we do have like I told you, that magic tape, if we do have a tail there, watch the tackle. The tackle will give this away, or his stance will give it away. When his feet are even, it's been more run. When his feet are staggered, probably going to be more pass. So we'll try to give them little things to help us out there off of it.
So when Yeah, when you do get that run read, like that mesh, because if that's their eyes on the quarterback and that running back, when you do get that mesh, what's your safety's technique? Is he triggering down right away? Is he slow? Is he sitting and just feet firing? What do you look for in that when you get that mesh?
Normally we will foot fire it, okay? And I'm always say, don't go till you know. So don't go till you know is kind of the technique or the verbiage that we use. When he's unsure, hey, sit there, be good in your technique, because now we're going to really have to work and react as fast as we possibly can. And so like I told you, we'll try our best, especially in our defensive calls, of trying to allow those guys to have one job, and trying to take the stress off of either a linebacker or safety or whoever it is. And I'll tell you this, we've seen every RPO known to man. Lincoln Riley does an unbelievable job in trying to prepare for some of that stuff, and also, some of these coordinators that we see. Of course, it's playing chess, and which call is going to be better or whatever it is. But at the same time, just trying to prepare those guys and allow them an opportunity to be successful. The big thing that we talk about is, hey, don't go till you know. Recognize it, diagnose it, and then we're able to go from there.
Great stuff, Coach. I appreciate it. A lot of good information there. Really appreciate your time. I know, it's difficult right now for everybody, and we're all trying to, get better and make best use of our time that we have. And guys coming on like yourself and talking ball, we really appreciate it. I love you for doing it. I think it's awesome. If guys have your screen there, Coach Washington has put his information up. I'm sure he'll if you guys have other questions, get with him at some point and talk a little more ball. I'm sure he's open to that. But appreciate your time this morning, Coach. Stay safe out there, and good luck to you.
Yeah, y'all too, guys. Hey, that's my email. That's my Twitter handle. So one of those two, I'll get back to you as quick as I can. If you need the presentation, same thing. I'm a little behind in technology. Like I told you right now, but I can get this presentation to you and send it to you as well. But guys, stay safe. I appreciate everything that you do. If y'all ever around Starkville, Mississippi or anything, stop on by, man. Coach Leach is a fun, interesting individual to be around. But our entire staff, man, we'll welcome you with open arms. And like I said, anything that we can do during our time, like I said, hit me up, and y'all are more than welcome to stop by, and appreciate everything that y'all do. Y'all keep on staying safe and being a big influence for these young men that we get an opportunity to be around. Coach, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Coach Cam.
All right. Thanks, Coach Washington. We'll talk soon. Thank you. All right,
Absolutely.
guys, if you want to hang tight,